Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I started as a ride operator at a medium-sized theme park, worked my way up to supervisor, and now I cover different areas when staff call in sick or need help. The housing situation is pretty sweet. All full-time employees get small apartments right on the park grounds. It saves money and makes it easy to cover shifts when needed. My friend who runs the hot dog stand near the entrance has been there longer than me, and we became pretty tight over the years. So this morning, it was the start of peak summer season. The park was already packed by 10 a.m., families everywhere, kids running around screaming. I was on my lunch break, sitting in the staff area enjoying my sandwich and chips like the unhealthy person I am when my radio crackled to life. My friend called me over the radio and told me she had hurt her leg pretty bad. The medics had looked at it and told her she needed to rest up for a few hours. She asked if I could cover for her at the hot dog stand. I told her it was no problem and that she should go rest up and radio me when she was feeling better. I said that I had a few hours free anyway, so it worked out perfectly. She thanked me and said she owed me lunch tomorrow for helping her out. I stuffed the rest of my sandwich in the trash and headed over to the hot dog stand. It's a small wooden hut with serving windows that face the main walkway. Pretty basic setup: microwave, buns, hot dogs, condiments, register. I unlocked the windows and started serving the line of customers that had already formed. About an hour in, I was checking our supplies when I realized we were completely out of ketchup. Not a huge deal. Normally, I'd just radio storage and they'd bring some with the next delivery. Little did I know this would almost get me killed. That's when this chunky kid waddled up to my window. He looked about 10 years old, had ice cream smeared around his mouth, and was clutching a $20 bill in his sticky hand. I tried not to roll my eyes. Kids at this place are usually pretty messy, but hey, kids will be kids. The kid demanded a jumbo hot dog immediately, using a really rude tone for someone his age. His attitude caught me off guard, but I turned to make his order anyway. When I was preparing the food, he started complaining that I was taking too long and that he was hungry. I tried to keep things light by making a joke about patience, telling him to be patient and the food would be ready soon. Management tells us to joke around with customers and keep the atmosphere fun. The kid snapped back that he wasn't young and just wanted his food now. Under my breath, I said something about turning him into a hot dog if he didn't chill out. I finished microwaving the hot dog, shoved it in a bun, and handed it over. We served them plain, no cheese, onions, or anything fancy. He gave me the money, but just stood there staring at me. The kid then asked where the ketchup was and accused me of forgetting it. I explained that he hadn't asked for any, and unfortunately we were out right now. I offered him mustard instead. The kid refused the mustard and demanded ketchup immediately. I apologized and explained that I couldn't help him since we wouldn't get more until later and I couldn't leave the stand. I suggested he could try the other hot dog place just down the path that should have some. Then things got weird. The kid just started bawling his eyes out like someone had told him his dog died. I stood there shocked because I hadn't done anything wrong. Then he ran off crying. I figured that was the end of it and went back to serving other customers. But about 10 minutes later, I saw this figure charging toward my stand. At first I thought it might be someone trying to rob the till. That's happened to me before, so I started to close the window. But it wasn't a robber. It was a man who grabbed the window before I could shut it. The man yelled that I had made his kid cry and that I was going to pay for it. I asked him what he was talking about, completely confused by the whole situation. Before I could react, this psycho climbed through the serving window and grabbed the knife I used to cut buns. I immediately hit the panic button on the wall and tried to radio for help when he came at me with the blade. The man demanded that I give his son ketchup right now, waving the knife around. I told him to put the knife down and explained again that there was no ketchup left, just like I had already told his kid. The man said he didn't care and repeated his demand for ketchup for his son. This maniac was holding a knife to my throat over condiments. I slowly started backing away and told him I'd check the storage area in back to see if we had any hidden away. Long he stayed put. I was hoping security had heard my panic button. When I reached the back door, I heard a voice calling through it. One of the security guards was asking if I was in there because I hadn't answered when they radioed about the panic button. I started to explain that there was a guy with a knife threatening to stab me over ketchup, but I got cut off. Then the cavalry arrived. 3 security guards burst through the door with pepper spray drawn and absolutely doused this lunatic. They wrestled him to the ground, got him in handcuffs, and called the police. Turns out this wasn't just some angry dad having a bad day. When the cops showed up and arrested him for assault, he admitted that he was planning to stab me in the throat, even if I had found ketchup for his kid. The guy was planning to commit murder over a condiment that costs 50 cents. I got the rest of the day off and went to check on my friend. When I got to her apartment, she was lying in bed looking pale. She told me she had heard everything over the radio and said she couldn't believe someone almost killed me over ketchup when she was just lying there helpless. I told her it wasn't her fault and asked how she was supposed to know some psycho would try to commit murder at a hot dog stand. The dad got charged with assault with a deadly weapon and making terroristic threats. His kid got taken away by child services since threatening theme park workers with knives isn't great parenting. The next hot dog stand was literally a 2-minute walk away and had plenty of ketchup. This maniac was willing to commit murder rather than walk his kid 200 yards down the path. I'm a mom to a brilliant 5-year-old daughter who I share custody with my ex-boyfriend. He's married now to someone I'll call Karen. My daughter and I have been through a lot together. Her father and I broke up when she was barely 2, and the custody battle was rough. The court order was clear. I get her for Mother's Day every year, and if her birthday falls on Mother's Day, we split the day. This year was one of those years where her birthday landed right on Mother's Day weekend. My daughter has always been smart. She started talking in full sentences at 18 months, reading by age 3, and has an amazing vocabulary. She's in the gifted program at school now at 13 and reads at a high school level. When she's upset about something, she usually tells me right away. That Friday, when I picked her up for our Mother's Day weekend, something was wrong. She was quiet, withdrawn, and wouldn't look me in the eye. No matter what I asked, she just shrugged and said she was fine. This wasn't like her at all. I planned the perfect weekend. We had her birthday party on Saturday with horseback riding, which she loves, and I got her favorite ice cream cake. We talked about our Mother's Day plans, how she and my husband were going to make me breakfast in bed. Then we go to my friend's gathering and finish the day at my in-laws' house for dinner. Sunday morning started with my phone ringing at 7 a.m. I was still asleep, so I didn't answer. When we finally got up at 8:30 a.m., I had 5 missed calls and just as many voicemails, all from Karen. I listened to the first one and regretted it. Karen was screaming into the phone about how I needed to make my daughter call her right now to wish her happy Mother's Day. She kept saying it was her day too, and that I was being a selfish witch who didn't understand that she deserved this courtesy. The other voicemails were more of the same angry ranting. I decided to ignore her. I turned off my phone and focused on having a beautiful Mother's Day with my family. My daughter made me breakfast in bed. Well, her version of breakfast, which was Pop-Tarts and chocolate milk. It was perfect and so sweet that she tried so hard. She gave me handmade cards and little gifts she'd made, and I felt so loved. We got ready and headed to my friend's gathering. It's this wonderful event where families do activities together before the kids go off to their own area for crafts and games. Everything was going great until my friend came to find me with a concerned look on her face. My friend told me she needed to talk about something that had just happened with my daughter. When I asked if I should be worried, she said I should probably document whatever she was about to tell me. She explained that during the craft time, the kids were talking about honoring their mothers, and one child mentioned that telling the truth was a way to honor parents. That's when my daughter asked what to do if the mommy lies to you. When my friend asked what she meant, my daughter explained that Karen had told her that I wanted to kill her when she was in my belly and that her dad had saved her life. Karen had also said that I still didn't love her and just wanted to hurt her dad. My daughter told my friend that she didn't think that was true. My friend asked when this happened, And my daughter said Karen told her this on Friday when I picked her up. Karen had also said that I didn't deserve to have her for Mother's Day because I wasn't her real mommy. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. My friend reassured my daughter that I loved her very much and would never hurt anyone, and encouraged her to talk to me about it later. I was furious but tried to keep it together for the rest of the day. When I turned my phone back on, I had 27 missed calls and 18 voicemails from Karen. I handed my phone to my trusted friend and asked her to listen to them for me. She deleted every single one, saying they were just more of the same ignorant ranting. I managed to put on a smile and enjoy the rest of our Mother's Day, but I told my husband everything that evening. Monday morning, I was on the phone with my attorney. He asked my friend to write down exactly what my daughter had said so we could use it as evidence of emotional abuse. When it came time to drop my daughter off at the end of the weekend, Karen was there waiting. The exchange was supposed to happen at a big box store parking lot. When we got there, Karen started scolding my daughter for not calling her on Mother's Day to wish her happy Mother's Day. Then Karen turned to me and told me that I needed to learn how to co-parent properly. I just wanted to get through the exchange peacefully, but Karen had other plans. She started yelling at the top of her lungs right there in the parking lot, drawing stares from other shoppers. Karen screamed that I was just a great egg donor, but that she was obviously my daughter's real mom. She was trying to get random strangers to agree with her. I decided I'd had enough. I gave my daughter a big hug and kiss, told her to have a wonderful time with her dad, and started walking to my car. That's when things got crazy. Karen handed my daughter over to her dad and followed me to my car, screaming the whole way. I got in and started backing out, hoping to just drive away from the situation. But Karen wasn't done. She started pounding on my car windows with her fists, yelling through the glass. I turned my radio up as loud as it would go to drown her out and slowly backed out of the parking space. She chased my car through the parking lot before some bystanders stopped her. 2 hours later, I got a call from the police. Karen had filed a report claiming I hit her with my car and wanted to press charges. They asked me to come back to the store to sort everything out. I grabbed my husband just in case they arrested me, and we drove back to the store. The manager happened to be my brother-in-law, so he called in a manager from another location to avoid any appearance of bias. My daughter was sitting in her dad's car while Karen was in the back of an ambulance, putting on quite the performance about how I had run her down with my car. She was even claiming I almost hit my own daughter. After the police reviewed the security footage and took my statement, they gathered everyone together. An officer stayed with my daughter while we talked. The officer asked Karen if she realized all the trouble she had caused. I was confused and asked what he meant. Karen was practically glowing with satisfaction, thinking the officer was talking to me. But then, the officer clarified that he was talking to Karen, not me. Karen's voice went up about 3 octaves into what I can only describe as her hyper-Karen voice when she asked what he meant. The officer explained that calling the police to file a false police report was illegal and that he was inclined to arrest her right there. He said she had not only lied about being hit by my car, but also lied about my daughter's whereabouts, her own actions, and had been harassing me. Karen insisted that I had tried to hit her, and that the cameras saw it. The officer explained that he had reviewed the cameras, and they showed her chasing me down and hitting my car multiple times with her fists before I drove off. He reminded her that she had said when they arrived that she wasn't leaving without an arrest, so he pulled out his handcuffs and told her to turn around. Karen started screaming about why she would get arrested and that she had done nothing wrong. She accused me of lying and somehow doctoring the cameras. My ex-boyfriend looked exhausted and asked the officer if there was anything they could do to make this go away, since he couldn't afford to bail her out. The officer said she could start by apologizing and then he could write her a hefty ticket for disturbing the peace instead of arresting her. My ex-boyfriend told Karen to just apologize and that he didn't care if she was even sorry. Karen apologized while crying hysterically and begged the officer not to let her daughter see her in handcuffs. I corrected her and said she meant my daughter and his daughter, pointing to my ex-boyfriend. Karen kept insisting that my daughter was hers too. The officer released her with a ticket for nearly $500 and a court date. Before they left, he made sure I got to give my daughter another hug and kiss. Plus, I bought her a juice from the store because she was upset about all the commotion. A few weeks later, we all ended up in court. When it was Karen's turn to speak, she told the judge that I had started everything by not answering my phone on Mother's Day so she could receive Mother's Day wishes from my daughter. The judge scoffed and upheld the fine. Then he said he was adding 20 hours of community service unless she could give him a good reason why he shouldn't. Karen told the judge that she was just a young woman with a lot of emotions who didn't intend to cause a problem. She said she didn't deserve to be held accountable for her actions when she was obviously distressed by the events earlier in the week. She insisted that the judge couldn't do this to her because she was a good woman. The judge told Karen that 20 hours of community service would probably do her some good to give her an attitude adjustment. He said he better never see her in his court again, banged his gavel, and that was it. Karen sat there crying and asking why he was punishing her since she wasn't wrong and didn't deserve this treatment. And just so you know, that transcript from my friend about what Karen told my daughter, we used it in our custody hearing. Let's just say it didn't go well for them. After dropping out of culinary school due to financial problems, I needed steady work fast. My rent wasn't going to pay itself, and my girlfriend was already covering more than her share of our expenses. The restaurant was chronically understaffed, which meant those of us who stayed had to work twice as hard just to keep the place running. I quickly became the go-to cook because I could handle the pressure of the lunch rush while managing multiple tasks at once. The secret was knowing which rules mattered and which ones you could bend without anyone getting hurt or upset. Management understood this reality. They knew we had to cut some corners to keep customers happy and food coming out fast. One of those corners was the rice preparation rule that said we had to rinse the raw rice 3 times until the water runs clear. The wording was vague and confusing. Did it mean 3 times and until clear, or 3 times or until clear? Nobody really knew, and honestly, nobody cared as long as the rice tasted good and we never ran out. Most days I'd give the rice 1 or 2 quick rinses before throwing it in the cooker. The rice always turned out perfectly, customers never complained, and we never had to tell anyone we were out of rice. Everyone was happy with this system, including the managers who saw our good numbers and smooth operations. That peaceful arrangement lasted for months, until one particular day when our assistant manager decided to become a stickler for every single rule in the book. She had worked her way up through the ranks, so she knew how to do every individual task in the kitchen. What she didn't understand was how to orchestrate the dozens of simultaneous tasks required to keep everything running smoothly during our busy periods. I had mastered that skill through months of trial by fire. The morning started normally. I was preparing for what I knew would be a hectic lunch shift, getting all my prep work done while the restaurant was still quiet. I was at the rice station doing my usual quick rinse routine when she approached me. She told me to make sure I rinsed the rice until the water ran clear. I looked up at her with a neutral expression and claimed that I always did that, even though we both knew I was lying. We both knew I was lying, and she knew exactly why I was lying. She understood that following the rule to the letter would slow down rice preparation significantly, and she knew I was the only cook who could guarantee we'd never run out of rice during the rush. If we ran out of rice, her day would become a nightmare of angry customers and corporate phone calls. She had a perfect opportunity to let this slide and maintain our successful system. Instead, she doubled down. She told me she knew I didn't follow that rule and insisted I keep rinsing the rice until the water ran clear. She said that before I put the rice in the cooker, I needed to find her and show her that the water was running clear. I stared at her for a moment, then told her I understood. I would keep rinsing the rice until the water ran clear. I started the process exactly when she requested. Fill the large pot with rice and water, agitate the grains around, lift out the perforated inner pot, and dump out the cloudy water. After 3 rinses, the water still looked like watered-down milk. She was standing nearby watching my every move. She asked me if the water looked clear, and the question was obviously meant to make a point rather than get an actual answer. I could see she was satisfied that she'd made her point, so she walked away to handle other tasks. I kept rinsing. The process was mind-numbing. Fill, agitate, drain, repeat. Fill, agitate, drain, repeat. When I continued this ridiculous task, I started counting each rinse. The rice grains began breaking apart from all the agitation. What started beautiful long-grain rice was slowly turning into a mushy, broken mess. Meanwhile, all my other prep work was falling behind schedule because I was stuck at the sink performing this pointless ritual. After what felt like forever, she returned to check on the kitchen's progress. She seemed surprised that I was still rinsing rice. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. I lifted the inner pot and dumped out the water right in front of her. Then I asked her if the water looked clear to her. When the slightly cloudy water, which now looked more like watered-down rice milk, went down the drain, she quietly admitted that no, it didn't look clear. I stepped back from the sink and looked her directly in the eyes. I asked her how many times she thought I had rinsed the rice. She guessed 7 times, but I told her to try 37 instead. I wasn't exaggerating even a little bit. I had been counting every single rinse. I explained that I had rinsed the rice 37 times, and the water was still not running clear to her satisfaction. Then I asked if I should continue. She looked down at what used to be rice and was now closer to broken grain mush. I could see the wheels turning in her head when she realized the impossible situation she created for herself. She couldn't tell me to keep going because a few more rinses would turn our rice into something resembling grits. But she also couldn't tell me to stop because that would mean abandoning the very rule she'd insisted I follow perfectly. She couldn't fire me for insubordination, even though we both knew this was exactly that. She had scheduled me to work the entire day shift, and she knew perfectly well that she couldn't handle the lunch rush without me. She might have known how to do each individual task, but she lacked the experience to manage them all simultaneously at the speed our customers expected. She stood there for a long moment, staring at the destroyed rice, clearly realizing she backed herself into a corner with no good way out. Finally, she gave up and told me to get back to work and make sure we were ready when it was time to open. I had to bite my tongue to keep from smiling when I walked back to my station. The destroyed rice went straight into the trash, and I started a fresh batch with my usual 2-rinse method. We opened on time, the lunch rush went smoothly, and our rice was perfect when always. From that day forward, she never again mentioned the rice rinsing rule to me or anyone else. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.